she's unable to be here today, so I'm going to introduce our speaker. She was born and raised in Western Georgia. She's going to talk about the Harkerode family, one of our pioneer families. So today I introduce to you Joanne Harkerode Burkett. Joanne?
Thank you, Miss Gary.
You're welcome.
I'm not a speaker. I was a preacher's wife for 42 years, and I was just a wife. I did not do the speaking very much. So, anyway, I have worked 40 years on the Harkerodes. It has been a joy. I've enjoyed it so much. It was so, it's just loving to find people that you did not know. But anyway, I'm not a genealogy expert. I've just fumbled through a lot of it and brought down. So I finally got most of them together that I knew of. Anyway, I know Daddy had half brothers and sisters. He didn't have no whole one. And I knew his daddy, granddaddy, and uncle raised him. And he would always talk about his life. So around 1990, somewhere like that, I got to thinking, well, who are they? Because I didn't know much of them. I knew the Christian part of his family. And so anyway, I got to digging, and I got Roy Harkerode, my nephew, to help me.
The mic on laying down. Turn the mic, not that one, man. The one laying down.
Oh, I'm a fumbling with it. Here. I had them arms. Oh, anyway, I asked Roy Harkerode, my nephew, I said, would you help me and Aunt Kate, my aunt, she was a Harkerode, my daddy's half-sister. Would they help me? I would do a reunion of the Harkerodes. So I sent out letters to everyone that I knew that might be connected. If they had a Harkerode name, I knew them. Because my daddy, he came from Tennessee. He and his daddy came to West Green and settled there for a while. Now his daddy stayed, but some way or another his wife wanted to go back to Tennessee. So he sold his house and farm there in West Green, which is our day Patsy Burnham's house. And he sold it to his daddy, and he went back to Tennessee. He kept his house in Tennessee until, so he had a place to go. But anyway, let me skip from that and tell you about, in my searching, I found a way off cousin, whatever, being in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. That's where the Harkerode settled at in the United States. So I found him through let me go here. He was in Pennsylvania. I got acquainted with him, and I got acquainted with one in California, one in Las Vegas, and one in Michigan, and one in Atlanta, and one in Alabama. So we got acquainted with each other, and we met, and we shared our information together. So that helped me with my research and all. And so my daddy moved back. The fourth time he moved back to West Green, he stayed. And so his 12 children all stayed around West Green, I think in Douglas. But anyway, they talking about genealogy, like I said, I don't know all that much about it to have you tell you how to do or anything. There's different kinds of books, that people use, and they have outlines of programs of on computers that they put on there to fill in their information they have. But me, stubborn me, I said, well, I'm going to do it my way. So I knew that, or I felt like that I needed to do it a way that my family could understand. So anyway, that's the way my books are. And I have two books. I have one of the Harkroods, of my line of Harkroods from Tennessee. I have that one, and then I have these that I got of my daddy and all of his 12 children. He had 12 children. He was a loner, but when he got started of his own, he got 12 of them. So anyway, in Church Hill, there, I knew some of the Christians there. So I found then ancestors over there of the Christians and the Scoutons. I was related to the Scoutons. My great-grandmother Scouton, Ann Scouton, I was named after her. And I wondered for years and years about it. So I found her grave in my search. And I was so proud because it was on this hill. And the valley was all the way around. It was beautiful. Oh, it's beautiful. And I then went to, when I found the Christians and Scoutons, I came to know that that the Christians and Scoutons settled over there in this valley. It's called Goshen Valley. And but anyway, in Lancaster, the Christians and the Harkroods, they settled in Lancaster. But my line, there was three boys, a man, a father, and three boys settled in Lancaster. But my line, he came to Tennessee there, and he settled on Kings Mountain. On Kings Mountain, it was, I learned that Revolution War had a battle there. And his home was there, and it was said that he furnished them some food. Whatever. Anyway, the Christians came from England and Skelton. And so anyway, the 12 children of us, they're all dead but me. So, but anyway, I'll tell you about, I'm not used to this. But anyway, it was so good to find out all of this line of my ancestors. And I'm going to do some more of it because I'm not satisfied. So I'm going to keep a digging. And I want to tell you about my daddy. My daddy, as I said, he had a sister and him and his sister was all he had. So his mother, my daddy was born in 1883. So when he was 4 years old, his mom and daddy had a divorce. So his daddy went back to Kingsport and Church Hill over there to the Harkroods, and she stayed there with the Christians. So back then, a divorce was a no-no. So her brother and daddy took my daddy and his sister. The granddaddy taken the girl, and his uncle went with him to live. So he grew up there, and when he got big enough to work, he went with his granddaddy, and his granddaddy raised horses for England. and my daddy broke some of them horses, he said. It's a bad thing to say, but anyway, he told my mother, he said, when I got off the horse, he threw me, I'd do my snot on my, my arm, and I crawl back on. But anyway, he didn't know his daddy. And so, but when he got old enough to want to find his daddy, so he went over to Bluff City, and he found his daddy, and he stayed with him. He was a sawmill man, and he stayed there until he wanted to do something, and he wanted to go to in the service, armed service, but he wasn't quite old enough, so his daddy signed the papers for him. And so in my book, you'll see pictures of him. You know, the cowboys and Indians and the cavalry people? That was my daddy, the cavalry. I got pictures of him in his suit and everything. But he was in the mountains, and his regiment was vamping out the mountains of Arizona. And it was cold up there, and their mules that was carrying their supply, their food, they fell in this icy cold water. And my daddy, the captain or whatever, asked whoever wanted to volunteer to go in there and cut loose their rations. And so he volunteered and went in, and they was back up in the mountains, as I said, and they couldn't, he got sick from that. And he laid there until they got to go back to the fort there, and he had to be discharged because of his health. So he came back, and he married this lady, his Ella Oldfield, and she was with him when he was moving all that time with back into. They had 7 children, but she died in Broxton. They lived in Broxton then, and she died, and he told his children. He said, "If you find a lady that you like to have as a mother, tell me who she is, and I'll marry you." So, all them years, from 1936, I'll tell my age, 1936 up until 2004, I'd often thought about who did they pick to be their mother. So the night of my mother's funeral, at the funeral home, my older sister, I asked her, I thought of it. I asked her, I said, how did you pick my mother? She said, oh, we played with her brothers and sisters. So there that was, and Daddy was 22 years older than my mother. And but they had a happy life, I think, and all as you experience in your own life. So, I don't know what else, so Jerry.
Well, I think one thing they might be interested in, Joanne, you shared with me that you found other ancestry than Sheltons and Christians.
Yeah.
What are some of the other names you came across?
Well, mainly it was just, let's see, my great-grandmother that married James Henry Hawkrode, she was of the Hicks line. I've got some of it, and as I said, I got to working on some more of that, different ones like that. And I got the names of different ones of the Hawkrodes down the line. So that's something I'm still wanting to do, trace them back where they came from. So, anyway.
I believe you shared with me that somewhere back in the lines there was a Miller.
Well, that came in from the Burketts.
from the Burketts.
Yeah, yeah. The Tanners and Wards and Burketts and came through the Burketts. I got that in my book because my children are Burketts. So my husband was Preacher Bill Burkett. And anybody else have a question? Maybe I can.
Question or comment? Ratings are popular.
Yeah, okay, let me do that. Okay, yeah. Yeah, his daddy was the oldest boy, Zenas Harker. And I share you this with it. When I was young, coming up in the late 40s or wherever, children that are on the farm in the country, when they the tooth got loose, they, a lot of times they pull it out on that. So I did that. So I kept a bleeding just a little bit. And so they took me to Dr. Lott in Bronxton. He gave some medicine and this and that, so we went back home. And so in a few days, it still didn't do no good, so they took me back to Dr. Lott. He did some more. So in a few days, Mama told Daddy, said, we got to do something else. So anyway, they took me to Douglas there, and I had to have a cut down to put blood in my arm, my transfusion. Anyway, so they tested everybody, all the other 11 children, to see if they was somebody that was like mine, that I could have blood. And Zenas was the only one that had the same kind of blood. So we always teased the rest of them. We was more than half brothers and sisters. So you may, some of you may know of or knew of Roy Harkerode. That was Fred's brother. And
How are you related to Conley?
he was my brother.
Oh, okay.
You want me to name him?
He's the only one I knew.
That's the only one you knew? Okay. There was Zenas and Mac, Nathan, Louise, Beanie, Conley, Stanley, Billy, Fernell, Horace, Betty, and me, Joanne. And like, yeah, he was the only one survived out of his regiment on Iwo Jima.
Joanne,
He had,
one time I was talking to Granddad when I was about 10, 12 years old, because I knew he'd been in the Army,
yeah.
over horse that cavalry,
Hmm.
and he was a surveyor. And he actually helped survey Arizona and New Mexico when they became states.
Yeah.
And he had some wild tales about out there in the Apaches.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They weren't very good.
Yeah. I grew up of him telling about his life. And it's some more. I got it in my book. It's some more. It's just, you wouldn't believe what he went through in order to growing up. But the good Lord was with him, and he made it through, and he was happy when he died. And he had a family then. I think that he always thought that he wasn't a part of no family of growing up. But then when he got married, I think he felt like, well, now I got a family. So
I don't think you mentioned, Joanne, that the Harkerode family came from Germany.
yeah,
The
Frankfurt.
Started off with the name of Harkerode Red.
Mm-hmm.
Got garlic or whatever it was, changed to Harkerode.
Yeah,
There's places in Germany now named Harkerode is spelled as R-O-D-E instead of our Harkerode, R-O-A-D. So, they came from the Rhineland area of Germany.
Frankfurt, Germany. They came from.
To England, and from England to the way they came to New York, and then they migrated down to
Lancaster.
Lancaster.
Yeah.
130.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think sometimes that
what we have right now, because I know Ricketson was different when they came from England, it was Rickerson,
Oh.
Ricketts, whatever. So the spelling of the name makes it difficult sometimes for us to go back and trace.
Yeah, they
Our
Americanized
Right.
several names when we moved over here.
So many people couldn't spell, whoever the census taker was, he spelled it the way it sounded to him, and it ended up with numerous variations.
That's true when Dr. Mott was delivering babies, a lot of times he Dr. Mott, because he would spell it just like it sounded, because I know my name is spelled.
Yeah.
My mother was a great aunt and all the Hawk Road around here, well, now Joanne is. Everybody around here was Hawk Road, Joanne's her great grand.
She was my aunt. She was my aunt. Aunt Florence and Lola and Lee and Jess and Rob and Dan, they came from Tennessee. Dan and,
A lot of comments I've read that where Hawk Road, well, they in Statesboro, and I think some of your families in Statesboro, and Tug Hawk Road, which was our uncle, his family's in Savannah, and some of you see that Hawk Road jewelry on Abercorn Street in Savannah. That's our cousin that got that. There's Hawk Road's in Waycross, which is Stanley's sons, and I don't know where his other two are at.
he just got 2 sons. They live in Waycross.
In Waycross, but I don't know
Yeah.
where the other two are at.
Yeah, yeah. Our ancestor that came from Lancaster, settled in Kings Mountain, he's the one that changed the spelling of the, as we know of Hawk Roads now. And he I lost my train of thought. But anyway, he settled there, and as I said, and George Washington gave him 3 land lots, and it covered 5,000 acres around East Tennessee there, and they lost every bit of it. But anyway, all right, did I cut you off? Nope.
To add to that, Joanne, I understand that the sheepskin parchment in the archive in Tennessee, you know that, what you just said about George Washington land.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got the numbers of the land grants on my information there. And so, anybody else? Okay. As I said, I'm not no authority of genealogy, but I do love it.
Joanne, we thank you for coming.
Thank you.